My child, before you do anything else, I want you to notice that you did not arrive here by accident. Something tried to pull you away from this moment. A notification, a heaviness, a quiet voice that said you were too tired for this, that this word was not for you, that you should keep scrolling. But you did not keep scrolling. You stayed, and that alone tells me who you are, my beloved, because the enemy of your peace fought hard to keep this exact message from reaching you. He knew what it carried. He knew that the moment these words settled into your spirit, you would finally understand what really happened in the unseen realm today. So hear me clearly. You were meant to be right here, in this stillness, listening to your Father, because something happened today, my child, that you filed away as ordinary. It looked small. It looked almost invisible. You probably did not even count it. But in heaven, it was thunder. It carried eternal weight. It rose all the way up to the throne, and when it reached me, I did something you would never have guessed. I laughed, not the shallow laugh of mockery, the deep laugh of a father in triumph, the laugh of the one who already knows how the story ends. That sound was victory announced over your life. It was heaven declaring that the plan of the enemy has collapsed, and your destiny is still secure. Let that reach the tired place in you, my beloved. The King of all creation leaned back on his throne today and laughed with joy over something you did, and you almost missed it. Because you have been taught to measure yourself by everything that is still wrong. I know how hard that is to believe, my child, because of the way you have learned to see yourself. Somewhere along the way, in a season that was not kind to you, you started keeping a running list of your failures and reading it back to yourself every night. You remember the day you lost your temper. You remember the prayer you gave up on. You remember every place you fell short, in perfect detail, as if it happened this morning. But ask yourself honestly, my beloved, when was the last time you could name just as easily 3 things you did right this week? You cannot, can you? Not because there was nothing good to remember, but because you have been recording only the failures at full volume and letting the faithfulness fade to a whisper. My child, that is not humility, that is a wound. And today I want to begin healing it by telling you what heaven saw, so that for once you judge your own life using the complete record instead of the broken one. Hear the word of your Father in Psalm 2-4. He who sits in the heavens shall laugh, my child. That is not a small verse. When the powers of darkness rage and scheme and stack themselves against the ones I love, I do not pace the floor of heaven in worry. I laugh because their plans were finished before they began. And today, when the enemy expected you to fall, and you did not, that same laugh rose up over your life. I want you to sit with what that laugh actually means, my beloved, because it will change how you carry yourself tomorrow. My laughter is never nervous. It is never the laugh of someone hoping things will work out. It is the laugh of the one who has already seen the ending and knows it cannot be changed. When I laugh over the schemes arranged against you, I am not reacting to them. I am announcing that they have already failed. So the sound that rose over your life today, my beloved, was not a small comfort. It was a decree from the throne, and there is no power in heaven or on earth that can overturn a decree my laughter has sealed. The nations rage, my child, the enemy plots. The accuser builds his case in the dark, and the God who holds the whole of creation in the hollow of his hand simply laughs, because none of it can touch what he has already settled. I know how strange this is to hear, my beloved, because you have spent so long judging yourself too harshly. You compare your progress to other people and call yourself behind. You replay your old mistakes and decide your steps are too weak to count. But heaven does not measure the way earth measures. Where you see weakness, I see courage. Where you see a tiny seed, I already see a flourishing forest. Where you see a trembling prayer whispered through tears, I see faith strong enough to shake kingdoms. Stop measuring your worth with a broken ruler, my beloved. You have been reading your own life through the enemy's eyes, and it is time you saw it through mine. So before we go one step further, let this be the first thing you say back to heaven today. In the comments below, type these words: I did something today that heaven saw. Say it out loud first if you are alone, and then write it, Because there is power in the moment a weary heart finally agrees with what its father has been saying all along. Let me tell you what you actually did today, my beloved, because you have no idea how much it mattered. You did not just survive another ordinary day, you interrupted the plans of hell. You stood in a place where collapse looked certain, and you did not collapse. You spoke when silence was expected. You moved forward when fear told you to freeze. You forgave someone who never apologized. You prayed a prayer so fragile it barely formed into words. You chose hope when despair honestly felt safer. Each one of those acts looked like nothing to you, but to heaven, each one was a stone dropped into eternity, sending ripples farther than your eyes could ever follow. Think of a toddler taking its first steps, my child. Shaky, wobbling, ready to fall at any second. The parent watching is not angry at the wobble. The parent is overjoyed because movement has begun. That is exactly how I looked at you today. I was not frustrated by how unsteady your obedience was. I was delighted that you moved at all. The trembling yes you gave was enough to make your father laugh with joy. I want you to know how carefully I have kept the record of your hidden faithfulness. My beloved, because you have never once been able to see it, and you have judged yourself so harshly using only the parts you could remember. I remember the meal you gave away when you did not have enough for yourself. I remember the harsh word you swallowed when answering back would have felt so good. I remember the money you gave that no one knows you gave, and the phone call you made when you were already exhausted, and the forgiveness you extended to someone who never even said they were sorry. I remember the day you had nothing left in you, and you served anyway. Not cheerfully, just faithfully. And then you went home and forgot it, and told yourself it was nothing, my child. It was not nothing. It was recorded at full weight in a place your memory cannot reach. And today one of those quiet acts rose up before my throne, and I laughed with the joy of a father who sees what the whole world overlooked. And hear the reason I can turn your weakness into something worth celebrating, my beloved. Hear the word of your Father in 2 Corinthians 12-9. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Read that slowly. My child, my strength is not made perfect in your strength. It is made perfect in your weakness. So on the very day you felt the weakest, the day you had the least left to give and gave anyway, that was the day my power moved through you most completely. You thought your fragility disqualified you. In truth, your fragility was the exact place my strength came to rest. And here is something you must never forget, my beloved. The fact that you are still here is already a testimony. The plan against you was not casual. It was precise, designed to silence your prayers, bury your hope, and convince you that I had turned my face away. And yet here you are, still breathing, still seeking, still listening to my voice right now. That survival is not small, my child. That survival is victory. Every breath you draw declares to the unseen realm, the plan against me has failed, so take hold of that truth and speak it. In the comments below, type these words: the plan against me has failed. Let heaven hear you, and let every force that came against you hear it too, because you are not stating a hope, you are announcing a fact. Now I want to teach you how heaven's economy actually works, my beloved, because it is nothing like the world you live in. The world celebrates the headline, the promotion, the applause, the thing everyone can see, but I celebrate the hidden. I treasure the prayer whispered in a quiet room where no one else was listening. I treasure the forgiveness you released that no one noticed. I treasure the sacrifice that cost you deeply and brought you no applause at all. Every unseen act of faithfulness is written down in eternity, my child. Nothing done in secret for me is ever lost. The very moments you thought were wasted are the ones I magnify. This is why you must never again despise the small and the hidden things in your life. My beloved, the world taught you to wait for something loud before you would let yourself believe it mattered. It taught you that if a thing was not seen and measured and applauded, it must not count for much. But that is exactly backward from how heaven weighs a life. A prayer whispered in the dark, where no one but me could hear it, can break a curse that has bound your family for generations. An act of forgiveness released quietly, with no witness and no apology, can open doors for descendants you will never meet. A small integrity held onto in a moment when compromise would have been invisible and easy weighs more on my scales than 100 public performances staged for the crowd. Do not measure your obedience by whether people noticed it. My child, the most powerful things you have ever done, my beloved, were the things no one saw but me, and I know how tired the hidden season has made you, my beloved. There is a particular kind of weariness that belongs only to the one who has been faithful for a long time without any visible reward. You have given and watched others receive. You have prayed and watched the answer come for someone else. And a quiet ache settled into you, the ache of wondering whether any of it was even being seen. So hear me gently, my child. Your fatigue is not a sign of weak faith. It is the honest tiredness of a soul that has carried much in the dark. And I did not bring you all this way to leave you unseen. I brought you here to tell you that the hidden season is ending, and everything that was stored up in secret is about to be answered in the open picture. A single stone dropped into still water, my beloved. The splash itself looks so small that a person standing nearby would barely notice it. But then the ripples begin, spreading outward, circle after circle, reaching farther than any eye can follow. That is what your obedience today actually was. The act looked like a small splash to you, hardly worth remembering. But heaven watched the ripples spread across eternity. Angels were dispatched. Seeds that had been buried in the ground for years began to push upward toward the light. Gates that had been locked against you began to tremble on their hinges. What looked completely unnoticed to you had already stirred the unseen realm into motion. Never measure the size of what I am doing by the size of the splash you can see, my child. Measure it by the God who is watching the ripples. You have lived so long inside your own battles that you have forgotten how strong you actually are. You call your endurance weakness. You call your survival barely getting by. But I call it courage. My beloved, what tried to destroy you did not succeed, and that alone makes your life a living victory. Every scar you carry is proof that you survived something that was meant to end you, and every survival is a prophecy of the good that is coming, in my appointed time. Let me give you a picture from my word to carry with you, my child, because it explains the strange arithmetic of your tears. Hear the promise of your Father in Psalm 126:5. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him. Do you hear the exchange hidden in that verse, my beloved? The tears were never wasted, my child. They were seed. Every night you wept into your pillow. You were not just grieving, you were planting, and a field that is watered with that much sorrow does not come up empty. It comes up as a harvest. So the very tears you were ashamed of, the ones you hid so no one would see, are the seed I am about to turn into rejoicing. You went out weeping, my beloved. You are going to come home carrying sheaves. And I want you to understand what your endurance has really been doing in the unseen realm, my beloved. You thought you were simply holding on, just barely, white-knuckled and afraid. But every single day you refused to let go. You were quietly shaking the grip of darkness. Each morning you rose when it would have been easier to stay down. Hell lost again. Each time you chose faith while your whole body trembled. Another one of the enemy's calculations crumbled. You were never as powerless as you felt, my child. A person the enemy could not remove yesterday, my beloved, is a person he is now terrified of, because he can see what I am preparing to release through you tomorrow. So say it, my child, and let it become real in your body as you speak it. In the comments below, type these words: my survival is my testimony. Not I hope it counts, not I wish it mattered. Say it as a settled truth, because your endurance has preached a sermon in the spirit that your mouth never had to speak. I want to speak now not as a distant voice, but as the Father who has been near you the whole time, my beloved. It grieves my heart to watch my children shrink themselves, apologizing for the oil that is on their lives, believing their obedience only counts when someone applauds it. So before we go deeper, I want to give you the chance to be part of what I am doing in the earth. Not because I need it, but because I made you to give the way I give. There is someone out there tonight who is exactly where you were a year ago, certain that no one sees their hidden faithfulness, certain that heaven has gone silent over their life. My child, in this season of your own breakthrough, I am inviting you to sow a seed for that person. Never out of pressure and never out of fear, because a gift given in fear is not a seed at all. But if your heart is moved, you can sow something into this work in their name, so that this same word of heaven's laughter can reach them at 3 in the morning when they need it most. You do not do this to earn what I am already freely giving you, my beloved. Your seed does not buy your breakthrough, because breakthrough was never for sale. You give simply because a full hand loves to pour into an empty one. If that stirs something in you, you will find the way to give at the link in the description below, or by scanning the code on your screen. And whether or not you ever give a single thing, hear me clearly. I laughed over you the same. You are loved the same. There is no laughter of heaven reserved only for those who give. Now let me tell you what my laughter really is, my child. Because it is far more than joy. When I laugh over your life, I am not simply amused. I am announcing. My laughter is a decree. It is a weapon. It is a sound that shakes the unseen realm and dismantles the strategies of darkness. The enemy studied you. He memorized your patterns. He built his traps around your hesitation and relied on your exhaustion. He was so certain he had mastered you. And then today you broke the script. You did the thing he never predicted. You rose when you were supposed to sink. You gave when you had nothing left. You trusted when fear was screaming louder than faith. It was like a chess game, my beloved, the enemy smirking, sure of his victory, and then your one unexpected move overturned the entire board. That is why I laughed, my child. I saw what he never imagined, so do not carry the shame he tried to hand you. In the comments below, type these words: my small yes carries eternal weight, because it does, my child. One whispered yes, sincere and hidden, carries more authority in heaven than 1,000 empty declarations shouted for applause. And I want you to understand the prophetic weight of what happened when you broke the pattern today. My beloved, the enemy does not only study your weaknesses, he studies your cycles. He watches how you have responded to pain in the past, and he builds his traps expecting you to respond the same way again. He expected you to quit, because quitting is where the road always used to end. He expected you to retreat into old comfort, to numb the ache the way you numbed it before, to let the bitterness win the way it won last time. He had it all calculated, my child. And then you did the thing he never accounted for. You forgave when bitterness looked so much easier. You prayed when silence felt safer. You stood when everything in your history said you would fold. You chose differently than you have ever chosen before. And in that single moment, a cycle that had followed your bloodline for generations cracked and broke. That is why heaven erupted. It was not only your victory being celebrated, it was the breaking of a chain that will never again be passed down to the ones who come after you. Do not underestimate that, my beloved. The day a person finally chooses differently, the day they refuse to repeat the cycle that has bound them, is a day heaven marks forever. It may not look dramatic on the outside. No one around you may have even noticed, but in the spirit, chains shattered, and a new season was released, not just for you, but for a whole line of people who will inherit the freedom you fought for tonight. I want to remind you now of a man in my word, my beloved, because his story is your story wearing older clothes. His name was Joseph. He was given a dream when he was young. And then everything that happened next looked like the opposite of that dream. He was betrayed by his own family. He was sold. He was lied about and thrown into a prison for something he did not do. And then he was forgotten there by a man who had promised to remember him. For years, my child, everything about his life looked like delay, like failure, like a promise that had quietly died in the dark. But I was not delaying Joseph. I was preparing him. Every hidden day in that prison was building something in him that the palace would one day require. And when the appointed time finally came, I lifted him in a single morning from the prison to the palace, ready to save nations. Hold your own life against that. My beloved, the years you have called wasted were not wasted. The silence was not rejection. The delay was not denial. It was preparation. It was me enlarging your capacity to carry a blessing that would have crushed you if it had come too soon. Hear the promise of your Father in Habakkuk 2-3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry, wait for it, it will surely come. It will not delay. My child, that appointed time is not a punishment you are serving. It is a harvest you are approaching. And my laughter today is the sound of the waiting turning into the receiving. And notice the strange mercy in the way I lifted Joseph, my beloved. The waiting was long, 13 slow years of it, but the turning was sudden. When the appointed morning finally came, it did not take him another decade to climb. It took a single hour to go from the prison to the palace, because the long, slow years had already finished the work inside him. That is the pattern of your Father all through my word. The waiting feels endless, and then the turning is swift. So do not measure how close your breakthrough is by how long the waiting has felt, my child. A season can look completely unchanged for years, and then shift entirely in a single day, because I do not need time to move. I only use it to prepare you, and you have been prepared long enough, my child. Stay with me here, my beloved, because this is the turning of everything I am saying, and the enemy would love for you to drift away right before it lands. You have already come further than most people would. You did not scroll past your own soul tonight. That is the kind of heart heaven moves for, and I do not want you to miss what comes next. There was another one in my word who laughed, my child, but for a different reason. Her name was Sarah. When she heard the promise that she would hold a child in her old age, she laughed because it felt impossible. Her laugh was the laugh of doubt, the laugh of a heart that had waited too long to believe again. But my laugh was greater than her doubt. I was not shaken by how impossible it looked to her. I was anchored in my own word, and in the appointed time she held Isaac in her arms, the living evidence that what I promise I perform, my beloved. If doubt has made you laugh bitterly at your own dreams, hear this: your doubt does not cancel my promise. My child, my laughter is louder than your fear, and you will hold in your arms what I have spoken over your life. I know the ache of the waiting, my child. I have watched you pray prayers that felt too fragile to matter. I have watched you forgive people who never said they were sorry. I have watched you cling to hope while despair whispered that letting go would be easier, and I want you to know that not one of those moments was ignored. Heaven recorded what earth overlooked. Your sighs became songs before my throne. Your tears became seeds in the ground. Your weakness became the very place my strength was made perfect. So if you feel your chest loosen right now, or your shoulders come down even a little as you hear this, do not dismiss it. That is your spirit recognizing your Father's voice. Mark it, my beloved, in the comments below. Type these words: I receive heaven's joy over me. Let the receiving be a decision, because the feeling always follows the decision, never the other way around. I want to prepare you for something, my child, because my laughter over you today will be tested tomorrow. When the joy of this word begins to fade and the ordinary weight of life returns, the old shame is going to try to rise up again. It will whisper that today was just emotion, that nothing really changed, that you are still behind, still too much or not enough, still forgotten, my beloved. That voice is not the truth, and it is not from me. It is the enemy trying to steal back the ground you took today. So when it comes, do not argue with it and do not obey it. Simply remember what heaven did. Remember that the King laughed over you, and a lie cannot undo a decree. Stand on the sound of my joy, and let it drown out every whisper that tries to convince you that you are small, and so that this ground stays yours. Let me hear you take it now. In the comments below, type these words: I release the shame I have carried. As you type it, imagine setting down a weight you have carried so long you forgot you were even holding it, and feel how much lighter your hands become when they finally let it go. Never forget, my child, that what you did today was never only about you. Your obedience carries generational weight. That trembling yes will echo through bloodlines you have not yet met. Children you may never hold will inherit doors that your faith opened. People connected to your destiny will walk in a freedom they did not earn because you endured when it would have been so much easier to quit. I laugh today not only over your victory, but over the ripple of your victory, the ones who will be set free downstream from your faithfulness. Your survival is somebody else's map out of the same valley. Your scars will one day preach to people still bleeding. That is how much weight your hidden obedience actually carries. And there is something else your survival is quietly doing, my child, that you cannot see from where you stand. Your life has become a living sermon, and you are preaching it without ever opening your mouth. There are people watching you from a distance, People you may not even realize are paying attention, and they are drawing strength from the simple fact that you are still standing. When they see you keep going through what should have broken you, something in them dares to believe they can make it too. Your scars, the very ones you have been ashamed of, speak louder than any polished speech, because they are proof that a person can be wounded and still be whole, still be kind, still be full of faith. So the endurance you thought was only barely keeping you alive has quietly become someone else's reason to hold on one more day. That is part of why I laughed, my beloved. I saw one person's stubborn faithfulness become a river of hope flowing into lives they will never even know they touched. So lift your head and claim it, my beloved. In the comments below, type these words. My small yes will echo through generations. Speak it as someone who finally understands that their quiet faithfulness is building something far larger than one lifetime. Let me show you what this new season will actually feel like. My child, because you have been braced for disappointment so long that you may not recognize the good when it finally arrives. Picture an ordinary morning, not far from now. Nothing dramatic marks the date. You wake up, and before your mind can reach for the old list of everything that is still wrong, you simply notice that something has lifted. There is a lightness in your chest where the heaviness used to live. You catch yourself, without deciding to, expecting good instead of bracing for harm. Something arrives in your day, my beloved. A word, an open door, an answer you had stopped praying for, and instead of the old anxious scramble, you feel a quiet, settled knowing. You do not have to force it. You do not have to chase it. You simply receive it, and you whisper thank you. And you carry a joy through the rest of that day that you had almost forgotten was possible. That morning is not a fantasy, my child. That is the version of you that already exists on the other side of this waiting. She is not far off in some distant future you have to earn your way toward. She is only one more yes away from the person listening to my voice right now. And do not be surprised, my beloved, when the goodness begins to arrive quietly. The world trained you to expect breakthrough to come with thunder, with a parted sea and fire from the sky. And so you have overlooked 1,000 quiet mercies while waiting for one loud one. But I move most often in the small and the ordinary. A stranger who says exactly the right thing, a door that opens on a normal afternoon, a peace that settles over you for no reason you can explain. So do not despise the quiet arrival, my child. While you are waiting for the dramatic one, the laughter of heaven has already gone ahead of you, and it is clearing the way in 100 small ways you will only recognize when you look back. I want to be careful with your heart here, my child, because I know the world has trained you to celebrate only at the finish line. It waits for the trophy, the applause, the visible arrival, and it despises everything in between. But heaven is not like that. I celebrate the first step, not only the last one. I honor the process, not only the result. The journey itself is holy ground. So you do not have to wait until everything is fixed to feel my delight. I am not standing at some distant finish line waiting to be impressed. I am walking beside you right now, laughing with joy over every trembling step you take, because I know exactly how far this one step is going to carry you. And when you truly understand that, my beloved, something shifts in the way you walk through the world. You stop crawling through your days, apologizing for taking up space. You stop begging people for permission to exist. You stop measuring your worth against the highlight reels of others, those carefully edited glimpses that hide all the struggle underneath. You begin to carry yourself with a quiet boldness that is not arrogance at all, but simply agreement with what heaven has already declared over you. This is the confidence of a child who finally knows they are loved. My child, and it cannot be shaken by a rejection, or a delay, or a season that has not turned yet, because it was never built on any of those things. It was built on the sound of your Father laughing over your life, and that sound does not change with your circumstances. So stop shrinking to fit into places you have already outgrown, my beloved. Stop apologizing for the calling on your life. Stop living for the unstable approval of people who could turn on you tomorrow, and start living from the unshakable approval of the God who laughed over you today. His approval was never something you had to win. It was settled long before you did anything right or anything wrong. And once you truly believe that, the anxious striving simply falls away on its own, because you finally stop running after what has been yours the entire time. And I want to gently guard you against one more thing, my beloved, as this season of increase begins. When the doors start opening and what was withheld begins to be restored, do not let the blessing become your new master. What I am restoring to you is more than provision for your table, though I will provide. I am restoring the joy that was stolen from you, the peace you gave up, the confidence that was chipped away, the hope you buried because it hurt too much to keep it alive. I am restoring your ability to trust again, to dream again, to feel light again. Do not shrink this harvest down into money alone, my child. What I am pouring out is the return of everything the years of struggle took from your soul, and that is a wealth no amount of silver could ever equal. So say it now, my beloved, as one who is ready to receive it all. In the comments below, type these words: "This victory is already mine," not "it might be," not "one day." Say it as a settled fact, because in the spirit it is already finished, and it is only a matter of time before what is true in heaven becomes visible on earth. Let your body rest in that for a moment, my child, the way a tired child finally rests in a father's arms. Wherever you are sitting, let your shoulders come down. I suspect they have been up near your ears for a long time, bracing, guarding, waiting for the next thing to go wrong. Let them drop. Let your breath go all the way to the bottom of your ribs and out again. Slowly unclench your jaw. Turn your hands over so the palms face up, open, ready to receive, instead of ready to fight. This is the posture of the season you are entering, my beloved. Not the clenched fist of survival, but the open hand of a beloved child who finally trusts that the Father is awake, the Father is strong, and the Father has already laughed over the ending. And stay with me here, my child, right at this quiet place, because the enemy would love for you to drift away one moment before the truth finishes settling into you. You have already come further tonight than most people would. You did not scroll past your own soul. You stayed and you listened, and you let a word from heaven reach the tender places you usually keep guarded. That alone tells me something about your heart, my beloved. It tells me you are the kind of person who keeps showing up even when you are tired, even when you have every reason to give up on hope. And that is exactly the kind of heart heaven moves for. So do not leave now, right before the blessing lands. Let me finish speaking the whole of it over you, because I want you to feel the size of the one who laughed today, my child. It was not a small voice in a small room. It was the maker of the galaxies, the one who measures the oceans in the hollow of his hand, the one who set every star burning by name. That is the one who paused over your life today and laughed with delight. The whole weight of heaven leaned toward you for a moment, not in judgment, not in disappointment, but in pure joy over a child who chose faith when fear would have been so much easier. If a God that great is that glad over you, my beloved, then who can stand against you, and what fear has any right to remain? I know the doubts that rise in a season like this, my child, because I have heard you ask them in the dark. Why me? Am I really chosen? Do I even deserve this? And I want to answer you plainly. It was never about deserving. It has always been about surrender. I did not laugh over you today because your step was perfect. I laughed because it was faithful. I did not celebrate because you earned it. I celebrated because you yielded. Heaven does not respond to performance, my beloved. Heaven responds to a heart that keeps saying yes, even when the yes is trembling. And you kept saying yes. That is the whole reason the King is laughing. Hear this too, my child, and let it settle every fear. My laughter is not passive. It is warfare. It dismantles strongholds. It ridicules the futility of the enemy's schemes. It declares to every power of darkness that the battle is already finished. The weapons aimed at you failed. The curses spoken over you are reversing. The pit that was dug for you has become a well of provision. What was designed to bury you has become the very soil your blessing is growing in. So when you feel the warfare rise, my beloved, do not panic. Resistance is not a sign that you are losing, my child. It is the last desperate move of an enemy who already heard heaven laugh and knows the outcome is settled. Understand this about the timing of the attacks, my child, because it will keep you steady when they come. The warfare tends to grow loudest right before the breakthrough, not right after the defeat. When you suddenly feel a wave of doubt out of nowhere, when unexpected obstacles rise up, when the criticism sharpens and the discouragement presses in hard, do not read it as a sign that the promise has failed. Read it as confirmation that the promise is close. The enemy does not waste his heaviest artillery on a life that poses no threat to him. He escalates precisely because he can see the blessing approaching, and he is desperate to make you quit one step before it arrives. So when the pressure intensifies, my beloved, let it strengthen your hope instead of stealing it. The intensity of the resistance is telling you how significant the breakthrough must be. And let me speak tenderly to the shame that has followed you, my child, because I know the enemy tried to convince you that your suffering was my punishment. He whispered it to you in the dark, that you must have done something to deserve the pain, that the long delay was a sign I had turned my face away from you. That was a lie, my beloved, and I want it pulled out of you by the root tonight. I was never punishing you. The resistance you walked through was not rejection from me. It was the friction of an enemy who could see you were going somewhere. And the delay was not denial. It was protection, and it was preparation, and it was me building in you a strength that the blessing would one day require. So do not read your scars as evidence that you were abandoned, my child. Read them as evidence that you were worth fighting for, and that you are still standing. So rise now, my child, and carry this sound with you. You are not crawling toward a victory you might one day reach. You are advancing from a victory that has already been sealed. You are not begging for approval. You are living from approval already given. You are not hoping heaven notices you. Heaven already leaned back on the throne and laughed over your life today. Let that sound become your anthem. Let it silence the comparison. Let it steady you when doubt tries to whisper again. Because if the king has laughed, the ending is already written, and that ending is victory. So let me say it as plainly as I can, my beloved, so that you can carry one clear truth out of here and repeat it to yourself tomorrow. I saw you today. I saw the hidden effort no one else noticed. I saw the trembling obedience that cost you more than anyone knew. I saw the fragile yes you offered when it would have been so much easier to say no. I saw it, my child, and I did not frown over it, and I did not measure it against anyone else, and I did not find it lacking. I laughed over it with joy, the way a father laughs when his child does something braver than the child even realizes. That laugh means your story is not stuck. It means your obedience holds more power than you understand. It means the ending, my beloved, has already been rewritten in your favor. So carry that sound in your spirit, my beloved. The maker of the stars leaned back on his throne and smiled over your life today. And if the king is smiling, you can finally stop being afraid. Now hear the voice of the one who brings you these words, speaking to you plainly for a moment, heart to heart. If this message has reached the tired place in you and lifted even a little of the weight, then let it become a seed in someone else's life too. There is a name rising in your heart right now, a specific person, someone who has been carrying more than they let anyone see, someone who needs to hear that heaven has not forgotten them. Do not let that name pass by. If your heart is moved to sow, you can sow a seed for them into this ministry, so that the same word that found you tonight can find them in their own darkest hour. This is not a transaction, my friend. It is a declaration of faith, a way of saying that what you have received is too good to keep to yourself. You give not to earn anything, because everything your Father has for you is already freely given. You give because your cup is finally full enough to pour. You will find the way to sow at the link in the description below, or by scanning the code on the screen. And if this is not your season to give, then simply receive and give another day. Both are holy and both are seen. So here at the end, my child, let your Father bless you the way the blessing was always meant to be spoken over his own. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Peace in place of striving, my child, confidence in place of shame, the sound of heaven's laughter in place of every whisper of fear. Lift your head high, my beloved. The King has laughed over your life. What you did today, small and hidden as it seemed, made your Father in heaven laugh with joy because he saw the victory before you ever did. So carry that sound within your spirit. Let it be your covering, your confidence, and your crown. And walk forward now, not striving, not afraid, but knowing that if heaven has already laughed, then your victory is already secure. If your spirit knows this is true, seal it now. In the comments below, type these words: I receive this victory, amen, and amen.